Good morning, everyone. Hi, it's Tracy at TierraCast. Good to see you guys. I have what I think is a really fun demo for you guys today. This is, so for many years, we have been playing with resins in both, we've had in the past, well, we still have some, but not as many. We have some picture frame components. So these came out way back like 2010, 11, 12, somewhere a while back. So we did a lot of work with various glazes and techniques trying to see what would work best for gluing things, for putting pictures and stuff. I'm sorry I didn't grab. I have a lot of samples of work we did way back when, just of making, and of course what I grabbed doesn't have a whole lot of images. The bag oh, here's one. So we just did a lot of work trying to figure out how best to seal images and create things using our picture frame components. And we had a good time with that. And one of the things that we ended up using the most was a UV resin. There are a couple different brands on the market. We have mostly played with Lisa Pavelka's Magic Gloss. Looks like this. It is a UV resin, so you do have to cure it in a UV lamp, which you can find either with craft supplies that carry UV products like Lisa Pavelka's Magic Gloss, or they use them for manicures, for like, I'm not a person who has their nails done, so I'm clueless about the materials and the processes, but I understand that they do use UV resin. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Sherry. Hi, Joy. It is, and Lynn Goodwin too. It is good to see you guys. So, there, you of course can also use two-part epoxy resins, and those are wonderful because I think I still want to show you guys some more samples. I should have just prepared a whole tray, really was what I should have done. I did pull a few things out, but not as many. And at this point, I've forgotten what I was even going to say. But we really did have a great time just putting in inclusions, using coloring things, just putting our own parts into our ring components, as well as the picture frame components. So what I've kind of been holding out for to demo this was Halloween, because the imagery is just so fun. So, and also with these ones, you can see that I included some of our little spacer beads as inclusions. My light doesn't seem particularly great today, guys. Let me see if I can adjust for low light. That seems a little better, huh? Maybe that's a wee bit better. So that's what I'm going to demo for you today. We're going to use some of our rings and some Magic Gloss, and I'll show you the technique that I figured out all those years of working with all of those different things. I'm just going to show you guys how I sort of figured out the best way that worked for me and for our components. So I'm going to switch my camera. So what you can see on my workbench is an assortment of our ring components, and we have a few different types. We have many in our hammer tone style. Some of them are old and have been in our line for a very long time. We did a larger one a few years ago called our Radiant Ring. It's about 1.25 inches in the inside diameter. And then most recently, we did a larger version of our hammer tone ring. And it's actually got a slightly larger opening than the Radiant. So while we were working with all these different sizes and shapes, we also discovered that there were many craft punches that worked for some of the different different sized rings. So I've got a few of those here, and I tried like heck because I loved these little ghost and boo images. I tried to find them yesterday. It wasn't something I saved, or if I saved it, I wasn't able to find it yesterday. But it was just some cute imagery I found whenever I made these, which has been probably again, many years back. Really wanted to recreate those, but didn't have that luck. Didn't find those images, but what I did find, and a source that I like to go to find, I do have some links to share with you guys. So, oh, I should mention this too. Let me share this. I'm still by myself today. Julie is on vacation. Still through this week. Is that link going to come through? Whoops. Hold on, guys. I do feel a little tiny bit discombobulated today. I don't feel like I'm completely on top of things, but I'm beginning to think that's completely normal. So many years ago, we did do a video to show you this technique. It's on our YouTube channel. It's called our story ring video. And I just included a link in the thread so you guys could go over and watch that another time. It was the original video I did showing how to do these components. But back to the images. So there's a website I liked called Pixabay, and it is all, I'm typing in a note for that one for you guys too. It is free imagery. So it's great for projects like this, where you're just making, you're not using the images in some big marketing thing. You're just using small images for a project. And so the risk for something like this is just going down the rabbit hole. I had really a great time looking for images yesterday, and just kind of choosing some Halloween ones that I thought would make either good pendants. Thought this one would make a great pendant, and this fancy pumpkin as well. The one I experimented with yesterday just to refresh myself on my techniques was this Happy Halloween image, which I like. So I pulled together a bunch of images. Now, paper, what I have discovered over the years is that if I'm going to be using one of our ring components where you can see the back, I like to go and get some scrapbook paper. That's white on one side. That's the important thing. There are a lot of scrapbook papers they have a pattern on both sides. What I wanted was one side white so that I could cut it to letter size and run it through my printer. It's typically a very nice quality paper, which is, for me, I feel it's important to have a slightly thicker, better quality paper than your garden variety printer paper. So the scrapbook paper is nice for that. If you are using one of the picture frames where the back's not going to show, then any kind of nicer quality paper is okay, because the back is going to be obviously concealed inside the frame, right? So this is actually a slightly glossy paper. It doesn't have to be, just any, like I said, slightly better quality than your garden variety printer paper will work nicely. And I just find that the slightly thicker and slightly better quality, you got better results. So I did a lot of experimenting way back in the day. So I have to trust that the things that I made note of and the techniques that I developed, I have to trust them, right? I don't know about you guys, but this happens to me a lot in crafting and also in cooking. I'll develop a recipe for something or a process for something, and then I'll write it down and I'll tuck it away, and then I won't make it for several years. And when I go back to it, I sometimes will go, well, why don't I try this? Why don't I see if this works? When actually what I need to do is trust that the way I wrote it down is the way that works, because I did all that experimenting before, right? I forget to trust myself and I start second guessing. So it was fun yesterday to try to come back to this and remember how I did everything. All right, so rabbit hole with imagery, it's a thing, but I really did find some good ones. I did a tester this morning that I put in the UV oven. Typically, in an application like this, curing time for this will be like 15 to 20 minutes. So I wanted to have that one in the little oven and curing, so that we can move, when we're ready to, we can move on and show you what to do with it after it's cured. So the question now is what image to use and what ring to use. So what I discovered working with our new larger rings is that they are slightly larger than our old radiant rings. And whereas a 1 millimeter craft punch worked perfectly, the paper was sized perfectly for our larger rings, they're a little bit, oh, now it's making me a liar. And when I tested it yesterday, I thought it wasn't going to work, but this looks like it will. Okay, so forget everything I just said. We're going to use this black ring. We're going to move Jack and the Bride of Frankenstein off to the side. And we're going to use this new larger hammer tone ring. Now, what I needed to do is punch a hole in this first, because I'm going to turn this into, I will be trying to keep up with comments, guys. And it looks like there's a question about the paper. It is indeed a scrapbook paper that comes in like the big 12 by 12 sheets. And but like I said, only buy the kind for this that's white on one side. Yeah, so let's see, where else are we? I'm just checking, I'm going through comments very quickly to see if there's any other questions. So if I want to use this as a pendant or hang it from something, I need to punch a hole. So a small hole punch is the best. You want one, this one's a 1.5. This one, there's a lot of different brands of punches. Impress Art has the spin style. I think there's probably a more technical term for these. This one is from Bead Smith. This one is the punch style, and it's 1.25 millimeter. So it's actually a very good size for making a hole in this ring. And actually, I made a hole in that one yesterday. Oh, here, this is what we'll do. I'm going to make a second hole in this one, and then that way we'll be able to hang something from the bottom of this. Once upon a time, when we first started doing this, I did actually not punch the hole till later. I don't know if you can see that, but I ended up going through the resin, and it worked, but it was hard on the, let me adjust my light a little bit. It was, I got little cracks around the edge of the resin. So it worked. But what I discovered during that whole process was that it was better to punch the holes before you use the resin. So I'm eyeballing this. I do want it to be kind of centered. I got my top hole here, bottom hole here. I'm going to turn it sideways and center it on the edge of the ring as closely as I can, and then just pop that through and hope that I was centered well enough. That is a tricky thing, to make sure that it's that you're not too close to the edge. I am a little bit close to the edge, but I'm just gonna use some pliers to kind of flatten that down a little bit, and I'm not going to be putting anything heavy on there, so that should be fine. It should hold. But that is a good example of, you gotta be careful when you're punching your hole, that you're as close to the center of the ring as possible. All right, so I got my rings on both sides. The next thing I want to do, I'm sorry there's no project on the website for this, because you know when there's a project on the website, then you guys have part lists and you have tool lists and you have kind of everything you need to do the projects. So there is no project on the website for this, but there is the video that I linked to, and I will be turning this project into a blog. So I'll hopefully be able to get that done by the end of the week. So it will have this video linked into the blog. It will have part lists and all the other good stuff that I can include in there will be on the blog. And hopefully that'll be by the end of the week. So what I'm doing here is I have some packing tape. And I'm just adhering that to the back of this ring that I've already punched my holes in. And you're not going to get a perfect seal, but that's okay. We're going to address that during our process. And the next thing I want to do is choose one of my images. And I liked the idea of doing this one as a pendant, so I think that's what I'm going to do. But of course, when I was going through all these fun images, Geraldine has a cry cut maker, and I don't have one of those. I do. So Geraldine, with a cry cut maker, you can adjust your size to whatever you need. I need to get one of those. I really do. And a crocodile, I've heard of that too. Yeah, oh, fun. Okay, so in this case, when I was looking for my images, I was plopping them onto a Word doc and sizing them so that I knew they would fit whatever I might be going to use it for. And the next thing I want to do with those images is to seal it on both sides with tape. So I've got the same packing tape I used to put on the back of the ring. I think I'm going to actually cut this out now so that it'll be a lot easier to make sure I get my tape in the right place. I want to tape on the back too. And that it's sealing up the paper is important. Now with a regular 2-part epoxy resin, you could seal it with like a Mod Podge or some kind of sealant, some kind of craft sealer. But when I was working with UV resin all those years ago, I did discover that it wasn't good to mix a water-based material with the UV resin because I got some kind of funky, it was actually pretty in some cases, but I got kind of a funky, kind of fractured reflective effect sometimes if I mixed a water-based sealer with the UV resin. So I don't do that anymore. I do want to point out that the reason you want to seal the paper, yesterday I just did a little sample. I put some of the UV resin over half of this image and you can see how it really darkened it. So that's why I want to seal my paper so that it doesn't soak up the resin and darken it. If the image is a light colored image maybe, and it's okay for it to get darkened a little bit, you might be okay. But in this case, I definitely just want to seal this up. So I've got my tape on there and I'm trying to figure out, my work surface is soft and I'm really discovering that when you're doing this, a solid hard surface might be better. I could move all this stuff out of the way, I guess. Or I'll just work with it. All right, so I'm using my fingernail to burnish down the tape as well as I can, which I find is important on the image side, maybe not as important on the back side, but I'm just trying to make sure it's a good, not interfering with the image. And then maybe I'll turn that over and just make sure it's good on the back too. All right, And then I can come in with, and this is I think it's a 1-inch punch. Yeah, 1-inch punch. And that is the one that fits in our rings, in the larger rings. And then to punch out my image, I'm just gonna flip it over so that I can see where I'm aiming. And I need to trim the edges of my paper a little bit so I can get it inside the punch far enough. This is, you can see this is such a fun, crafty little process. It's really, you're getting your adhesives out, you're getting your scissors out, and like craft hour at school or something. So working on the back side, I can line everything up perfectly and then punch that out. And there's my little image. This was me, these little dots are me playing with the other punch sizes. So you can see that this one, this is a 3/4 inch or 5/8 inch punch, almost is a perfect size for the our smaller hammer tone ring. That one is the 7/8, and it's almost the perfect size for the larger ring. I was just playing with the punch sizes there. If you obviously have a not quite matched up thing, then you can just, either make yourself a template or use, somewhere I have a pencil here, or, if I had my paper and I had my ring I was going to use, I could use a pen and, draw around the inside of my ring and then cut it out by hand. But the punches make things nice, and I lost it. It's stuck to the back of my paper. The punches make things nice and simple and clean. Everything's nice and perfect. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I've got some brush on super glue. Doesn't matter what kind, but it needs to be a super glue, so it'll dry quickly. And I'm going to, remembering next steps. There's another step you can take here if you feel like you need to, and that is to take, if you feel like the white edge of your paper is going to show through, you could take a Sharpie or some kind of, even a pencil, and just kind of darken those edges a little bit. So I'm just taking a brown Sharpie and just going around the edge of the paper. It's really, if I did not do that, it's not really going to show. But what the heck? For demo purposes, it's good to show that. So I kind of colored the edge of my paper. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the super glue and go around the edge of the paper. And that is so that when I put that resin in, it doesn't, the paper between the tape doesn't soak it up. Because that, if the paper soaks up the resin, well, you saw what can happen. It will darken it. So don't want that. So we've sealed it up. Gonna just wave it around. Let it dry a little bit. Yeah, Lynn, I've used Mod Podge, and Mod Podge is great with two-part epoxy resin. There's no argument between the water-based Mod Podge and the epoxy resin, but I did find that I got some funky effects using the UV resin. So I would not use the Mod Podge with the UV resin. I would go with the tape. Although you might want to explore Lisa Pavelka's website. She may have a sealer made specifically for this. It's been a very long time since I shopped on her website. So now I've got my little piece of paper is sealed. I'm kind of lining it up the way I want it. You can see that there's a little bat, there's a little crow. I'm lining it up with my openings, my holes that are punched. I'm tucking it down in there. And now I'm going to take a cotton swab and I'm just going to seal that, push that down onto the tape. And I want it to be kind of pressed down thoroughly because I don't want air bubbles coming up underneath. I don't want air bubbles coming up from underneath the paper. I do have a fan running because I'm using all these various glues and sealants. I do have an exhaust fan running over in the window, which is something you should, if you're using glues and stuff, you should make sure you have good ventilation. All right, I almost skipped a step again. I almost went right to the resin, but again, I'm going to pick up my my super glue, and I'm good. This time, I'm going to go around the edge of the paper, and the edge, right, close the border between the paper and the ring. I'm just going to seal that up a little bit. And again, that is so that I don't get bubbles seeping up from underneath the ring. If you remember when I was first putting that tape on the ring, I mentioned that I wouldn't get a perfect seal. So this was my tip for kind of taking care of that, because I do want that to be sealed up as much as I can. And then again, this has to just dry for a little bit. Let's see, any more questions? We do have oval hammer tone rings, and those would be fun for making designs too. So while we're waiting for that super glue to dry, which it's fast, but we want to make sure. I'm just pulling out the one I did earlier and testing it. That's been in there, well, a good half an hour now. So it's thoroughly dry, but we'll just leave it there until we're ready to demo the next part. Still seems a little bit wet around the edge. So maybe while we're waiting for that, I'm just going to set it aside for a minute. And what I would like to do, I think, is I want to do something with the little Frankenstein. And the reason I want to play with the Frankenstein is because it's so fun to put the little spacers in there like hardware. And this, I'm going to use the, I think I'm going to use this frame, because that should fit pretty well. Now, because this is not a ring, and there's not really a punch that fits well for this size. It's not quite 3/4 of an inch opening. It's not even quite 5/8. And it's also, our square frames are not a perfectly square opening. So what I did was I made a little template. And to do that, I'm just going to demo how I did that, because it was nice to have a template. Otherwise, I would have just been kind of winging it and trying to make it fit, and then trimming it and trying to make it fit some more. So to make a template, I'm just going to put my piece of packing tape over the top of that. And then I'm going to go in with a craft knife and just cut along the inside edge. Just going through the tape. I'm not cutting down into the onto the metal, because I don't want to mess up the I don't want to mess up the plating. This is where my images, yes, images sticking to the tweezers happens a lot. Let's see. just jumped in and curious how you'll attach these pieces to the ring. What we did, hi Nikki, thank you for jumping in, is we used hole punching pliers to punch a hole in the metal. We demoed that earlier in the video, so if you rewatch it, you'll see me demo the hole punching pliers. So the one we're working with right now, we actually punched 2 holes. There's one at the top and at the bottom, so that I'll be able to attach a jump ring and then attach a little something at the bottom. So back to the template. My trick now is to get the piece of tape that I cut and just pop it out of there. And I did go around all 4 sides, right guys? Because I got sidetracked and started looking at the comments and doing other things. So yes, I did go around all 4 sides. I'm pulling out the piece I cut. And then I'm gonna take that tape off. And I stuck it to a little piece of scrap cardstock. And then I just used my X-Acto knife again, and I went around the inside edges of that tape and ended up with my nice little template. So that's how I did that. So now what I need to do is I'm going to seal Frank up. Actually, let me cut one out first. And I'm going to seal him up with tape on both sides like we did before. And you can, if you're working with smaller images, you can just use regular office tape. Doesn't have to be the packing tape. I use the packing tape because it's bigger for my bigger images, but you can just use regular old office tape. Also works. And my template is here. Where's my frame? I want to line, you know, I was saying that these aren't perfectly square inside, so I want to make sure I've got my top and bottom of my little template kind of lined up. And then I'm going to go in, oops, stay put, Frank. I'm going to go in with my my X-Acto knife again. Actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape this down on the back side so that it doesn't move. And then I'll go in and cut that out. Hi, Patty. Thanks for joining. I am just, I've got a couple different projects going on right now. We're using UV resin to create some jewelry images in both rings and frames. And because we're working with glues and whatnot, there's a little bit of dry time. So I've got projects going in different stages. So I've got my Frank is ready to go into his frame. So let's go ahead and glue him in, and then I'm going to go back to the ring project. So again, I'm using my super glue, and I'm just going to go along the bottom of that frame. I do want to make sure I coat it thoroughly so that there's no loose spots and or spaces for that air will be sitting in there. Oops, you know what I didn't do? I didn't go around the edge of the image, which we're doing to refresh for people who just joined. We're doing to seal up the edge of the paper so that the resin doesn't soak in and discolor it. And then I can pop that down in there. And I'll use that cotton swab to kind of smooth that down. And you shift it over a little bit, but that's okay. It's super glue, so it's too late to fix it. So watch for that centering. All right, so coming back to the ring, we've sealed our paper. We've placed it down onto the tape. We've added some more glue around the inside edge of that ring so that it will seal it up and hopefully prevent too much air bubbles. You do not want to shake this because that also creates bubbles. So try to avoid doing that. Hello, Kelly Dale, and congratulations on your big win last week. That was really a fun event. Kelly Dale was the winner of the Beat Along Design Challenge last week. That was really fun. It was an online design challenge. All right, so I poured my resin in. And this resin will self-level. I'm kind of tipping to help it along, but it's going to flow. It's kind of the consistency of honey, not real thick honey, just kind of thinner honey. So I am just kind of helping it to flow around the edges. You can use this resin in kind of thin layers and cure it between, or you can do it all in one heavier layer. It will dome. If I put enough in here, I could get it to make a nice dome. Right now, I just want to get it all the way to the edges. And then I can see if I need to add a little more. And as I was saying, you don't want to shake this because you're going to get a little bit of bubble action. As with two-part epoxy resin, you can use a heat source to kind of bring bubbles up and get them to come up so you can pop them. I don't happen to have a handy heat source here, so I'm going to go in with a pair of sharp-nosed tweezers and just kind of scoop out the bubbles. That was just something that a technique that worked for me way back when, still seems to work. Just go in and grab those bubbles. And I don't want to stick this into the UV lamp. It's Lynn, it's Lisa Pavelka's Magic Gloss. It's a UV resin. There is also a couple other brands. Becky Nunn makes one called Gel du Soleil. I have not used that one as much. I'm trying to decide. I don't really think I want to add any inclusions in this image. I like it the way it is, so I don't think I'm gonna. And it looks like it's pretty leveled, and I don't see any more bubbles. You do your best with the bubbles. Every once in a while, you put it in the UV lamp and you get more bubbles, even if you did your best to avoid them. Just kind of part of the, there was a little bubble there, pulling it out. And I think this is pretty good. I am going to pop it in there and let it cure. And I do like to have some kind of little card, like a business card. I'm using some of my old business cards for this. I liked that a good way to have something to kind of slide underneath your piece and then put it into the oven. This is one of Lisa's cards that she used to, was kind of a swag item that she used to give out with her resin at shows and stuff. So that's very helpful too. It's more like a plastic thing. And this one is cured by now. I'll show you what to do with that in a minute, but first let's finish up Frank and get him. I will put a couple of little inclusions in here with Frank just because it's fun. I've got just some of our little spacers in a container next to me, so that's what I'm putting in. Now, adding inclusions does bring in, that one's too big, does bring in the kind of bubbles. You really have to watch the bubble thing with the inclusions because it will, they're just, it's like all this other surface then that air is trapped around. So got to watch for the bubbles. So now I'm just going to put resin over Frank. And I really will help this. In this case, I'll have to really nudge. Yes, nail techs use a UV lamp too, so those will work for this. And Lynn, yes, it is. I am so happy to answer all the questions you have because it's not something that people have worked with a lot. So yes, you can cure something. If you don't have a UV lamp, you can cure this out in the sun. Protecting it with something is a very good idea so that you don't get dust. And it may take, depending on how sunny of a day it is, it may take a little longer than a UV lamp, but it is absolutely an option. And because we got the inclusions in there, I'm just kind of helping the UV resin flow into around those inclusions and to the edges. Oh, and to answer the other question, yes, these are the same as the UV resin lamps that they sell for crafting. As far as I know, are the same as what you use in a nail salon. Okay, I'm going to put a tiny bit more in that one. And I am going to, as I was saying, I am going to turn this into a blog post. So as soon as I have that ready, I will post it and post a link. And I'll just try to include, you know, all the little helpful tips, all the stuff, so that you guys will have a successful creativity. I really need to stack my glasses here, guys. I'm having a hard time seeing those tiny little details. But that's looking pretty good, I think. I don't see any bubbles. Maybe, you know, it's a smaller image, so it's not quite as impressive as the big one we did here. That's just one of my favorites of all time. All right. I think that's looking okay. I am going to just pop that in there. What's convenient with these ones, with the bezel frames, is that they have the loop, so I can actually pick it up and set it in there. All right. So those two are curing. This one has been in there for solid, well, as long as we've been demoing. So it is definitely cured. And it came out pretty good. No bubbles came up underneath. Yay. There's one tiny little bubble on that edge, but you can hardly see it. So now all I need to do is peel this tape off in the back. And I'm going slowly because I don't want, I mean, that piece under there is sealed up, but I want to make sure I don't accidentally somehow tear the paper. So I'm going slowly. That's good. And you can see that, remember how I was saying that the seal would not be perfect on the back of the ring. That's okay. Got a little bit of magic gloss that kind of seeped under the edge, but that's all right too. I'm just kind of wiping it off. And if it came out around the edges, like you can see it did here, it's still a little bit soft on the underside. So I'm just going to go in with the X-Acto knife and kind of trim that off. You do want to be careful not to get the finish on the frame. But I can just go in and kind of trim that off. Or I could even go in later with maybe a file. But again, you'd want to be very careful not to get the edge of the metal. So I can work on that later. And because it did kind of flow around the edge, I do want to make sure that my holes are still open. So I might have to go in with an awl, or when it's thoroughly cured, I can go back in with the hole punch and just pop that out. Because there's a little bit of resin on the back there. And this is still slightly soft on the underside, so I'll just pop it back in there for a minute to let it cure a little bit more, just to finish up that drying process. And then this one, let's take out and see how it's doing. It feels like it could use a little more time, so I'm going to leave it in there a little bit longer. And Frank is nowhere near. But we can, this one's dry enough where we can finish working with it. Let me get, I guess I'll just use this one. Come back in here with this one. Pop that through for my hole. And then I can either use jump rings to finish this off, or I'm just jumping around in here like crazy, you guys. I keep having thoughts and go, oh, well, let me use that, and hopping up and grabbing something from the supplies behind me. I just went and grabbed one of our little pinch bails. So that would also be a great way to finish. As long as the pinch bail pegs will fit in the hole that we made. And again, you do want to use a smaller hole punch. You don't want to use a big old hole punch because that's not a very wide surface there. So, but this seems like it will hold okay, that smaller pinch bail. And it will make a great pendant. So could you use painter's tape? That is a good question, Geraldine, and I am not sure. I'd be interested to see. I'd be interested to see if that would work. I don't think I ever tried that. I do keep painter's tape in here because it comes in handy for stuff. But I've never tried it. So if you try it, please let me know. It seems like it should work, but having not tried it, I can't say for sure. Let me think. You are correct. Geraldine's also asking if UV resin does not set up until you put it in the UV resin. You're right. It will just stay goopy and soft until you actually get it in some UV light. Forever, I don't know, but but in my experience, you definitely got to get it into the UV light to make it work. So that's it, guys. You can see that I have some detail work to do on this guy, get the resin off from around the edge. And you can also see just the fun potential of this kind of technique. I can't just abandon this one and not put a jump ring on it. So let's pop a jump ring in there so it could be hung on something. I have a suspicion. I like this one very much. I think that I might turn this one into my pendant for this season. And jump ring should fit because it's a 1.25 millimeter 1.25 millimeter punch. And this is 19 gauge wire, I think, or 18 gauge wire. So yeah, it fits. Round one might be better just because it has more clearance for the, more clearance to go around the thickness of the piece. But there you go. This one's going to be my pendant for the year. I'm going to switch my camera back because I don't think I have anything else to show you. Maybe I'll just test that one more time. Nope, that one is not ready. Did you see that, guys? I started to pull that away and the paper started coming with it. So this one is not ready. I was hoping I could peel that off and finish that one up for you guys, but it needs more time. So forget that. I'll switch my camera. And that's it. This is going to make a great pendant for my Halloween season. And I will work on my blog post and get all of these details into a nice post that you guys will be able to refer to. It will have all the tips and tricks and the materials I used and anything else I can think of to include in there. And it will also have a link to this video, which I will by then also have loaded onto YouTube so that it's nice and accessible. So yeah, lots of fun, Geraldine. It's a fun technique. And so watch for the blog post. And hopefully you guys are getting into the Halloween spirit. And thank you so much for joining me. And I will see you next week. Bye.